Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right, good evening and welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, CEO and founder of the Women's Small Business Initiative and an award-winning author. Welcome to a special edition of tonight's show. With us, we have Vladimir Adonis. It all started with a dream and asking the simple question, how else can success be defined? About 15 years ago, he started working in higher education for an online university, worked his way up into an executive level position, and then after 5 years later, he realized this is not what he wanted for his future. Vladimir started an online dancing business. After spending close to $30,000 for the project, membership was not increasing. Instead of giving up, though, he went on a mission to learn how to do lead generation, marketing, membership growth, and Facebook ads. After gaining some momentum, he learned the online business was in violation of copyright laws over the dancing video content. So to avoid legal ramification, he closed the online business. But this did not stop him, and he did not give up. Vladimir started hosting his own workshops on what he learned about lead generation and marketing. After hosting 60 successful local marketing workshops, the business became full-time. Vladimir recently started a Facebook group called Black Creators Connect. The goal of the group is to support other entrepreneurs and provide a space to connect and gain the knowledge and skills for a better life and a better business. So without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Vladimir Adonis. Hey, Vladimir, how are you?
Hey, Kimberly, I'm well. Thank you. How are you?
I am doing great, and I am just so excited to have you on. And, I'm sure most of my listeners right now are saying, who is this guy, Vladimir Adonis? This amazing name, this God that we have on our show. So I'm excited to have you here. And, and most of my listeners know that I'm always talking in the background before we even start a live show. So as we jump into the interview, I want you, Vladimir, to just tell the listeners a little bit more about who Vladimir Adonis really is.
Yeah, awesome. Amazing. Thank you for that. So Vladimir Adonis is of Haitian descent. I was born in Haiti, and my mom decided to migrate here to the States when I was about 8 years old. I grew up in a small town called Belle Glade, Florida, and from there I decided to transition to the Boynton Beach / Boca Raton area to go to school, to go to college. After college, I got a job as a financial aid person, helping students with the financial aid process, worked my way up to the executive level position. And you said the story, you said it perfectly earlier. Had some business ventures early on that didn't work out, which led me to what it is that I do today. And today I live in the Boynton Beach area. I live in South Florida. I love South Florida specifically because of the warm climate and the access to readily available Caribbean food. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm looking forward to being on the show.
Well, wow. I appreciate that. And I love Florida. So you have my heart right here. Okay. You're down there, and I know it's really hot there. So I've got family that is outside in Florida, closer to Jacksonville and Orange Spring area, but Florida is my favorite place. And Boca, oh my gosh, I could stay there forever at Boca Raton. So you are definitely in the perfect area.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. So anyway, I am just, like I said, excited to have you on and your story. I love your story. The thing that really stands out to me in the story, as I did some reviewing and researching and, the information that you provided, is that your dreams never died. And the things that we go through as business owners stood out the most, that people really, truly need to understand the real process of what it means to become a successful business owner. So why don't you talk a little bit to the listeners about that long journey? It's obvious that you just didn't jump out and just start running businesses. You went through school and everything, but talk a little bit about the process of what you learned and what made you decide that, oh my gosh, this is not what I set out to do after coming out of school and higher education, realize I'm kind of stuck in this high-level executive position, but it wasn't exactly who you were. Talk a little bit about that journey.
Certainly. So, yeah, to talk about that journey, I want to blame it on my kids, and I want to blame it in a good way on my kids. I have a 17-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter, and one of the things that I reinforce to them is I tell them to work hard and I tell them to do hard things. But at some point in life, I wasn't following my own advice. I had an amazing job. They treated me very well, and they paid me very well. However, I was going into a job where I was meeting and exceeding the expectations without a lot of effort, to be honest with you. So then I had to ask myself the question, okay, am I going to continue down that path and continue to do something that doesn't necessarily challenge me? And am I going to continue to be a hypocrite? So in an effort to create constraints and in an effort to go ahead and do things that's going to be a lot more challenging, that's going to perhaps stretch me in ways that I have never been stretched before, that is why I decided to go down the path of entrepreneurship. Well before I got into entrepreneurship, I knew that it was going to be challenging. I knew that there were a lot of things that I didn't know, and I knew that there were a lot of things that I was going to be able to learn. And so far, it has been, a challenge, but it has been definitely a rewarding challenge and something that I wouldn't go back and do all over again if I had to do it all over again.
Wow. And I liked what you said. The two things that stood out to me in this portion of your conversation here is the fact that, you're taking something that you listened to what your kids said. And then by listening to them, you realized in your mind that you were saying, hey, I was being a hypocrite. I'm the one telling my kids, this is how you need to live. This is what you should be doing. This is what you should be doing, is working hard and blah, blah, blah. And as parents, we have a tendency to do that because we want better for our kids. But at the same token, sometimes we do find ourselves stuck in a position that not so much you don't like. And like you said, you were very fortunate enough to be in a position that you did like, and they treated you well, you were doing well. And I'm sure some of our listeners right now are probably saying, well, what's so wrong with working? What's so wrong with having the perfect job and making the good money and being at a great environment that most people don't always get when they're in a work environment. So listening to that, it just really stood out for me that a part of life is truly about living your dreams. So what do you say to those people who may backtrack at you and say, well, you had the perfect position and now you may be struggling to continue to grow? What is your response to that?
So my response to that, I have, while I was working at the university, when I first mentioned it to someone there, and that person was like, yeah, I can see that you're going to regret if you don't, take that chance. I can see that you're going to be asking yourself questions and say to yourself, I wonder what would have happened if I would have. I wonder what would have happened if I would have taken that chance. I wonder what would have happened if I would have gone down that route. And I didn't necessarily want to be, that guy, to be honest with you. A lot of us have so much, within us. A lot of us have so much, potential. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that keeps me from making the next move, and some of the things that keeps other individuals as well, is that we're just, afraid, to be honest with you. We're afraid of the worst case scenario. And the question that I would challenge you to ask yourself is, okay, what is the worst case, scenario? The worst case scenario in my instance was that the first business didn't work, and I learned a lot from it. And I was able to take that knowledge and that expertise to be able to pivot. So I want to say the main question you want to ask yourself is, what is the worst thing that could happen, and can you deal with the worst case scenario? And is the worst case scenario worth you going out to to strive for what it is that you want to accomplish in life?
Right, and you're absolutely right. And fear is always, I think, the number one thing that people focus on when they think about wanting to live their dream. First of all, people have to get it in their mind that they have a purpose. And then once they realize they have that purpose, it's then how do you take that leap? And you were fortunate enough to be able to take that leap. So how many years, though, did it take beyond the 5 years that you talked about in your information? It says it took you 5 years where you realized that this was not what you wanted for your future. But how long did it take for you to actually jump into the first business?
How long? It took me about a year from that time, a year and a half from that time. So when I realized that, hey, I want to go into entrepreneurship, I knew that from working around other individuals and just from being around other people, period, sometimes some of us have the conversation and we say to ourselves, at one point, I want to go ahead and start a business. And for some people, that's like a fantasy. Some people talk about it, but never actually do anything about it. I didn't want to be that guy. So because I didn't want to be that guy, the minute that thought came to my mind, I want to say a couple of weeks later, I went out and I did something about it. And I went out and did something that was going to, that it was going to be hard for me to turn back from. And I spent the money, $30,000. If you spend $30,000 on a project, it's going to be very hard for you to turn back from that. So that's what I did. I paid a programmer, and the programmer spent about a year and a half to build the actual site. And a year from that time, I quote unquote was launched. I was in business, and that is how it went.
Wow. And that is a leap. And you did exactly what you desired to do. But when you decided to do the online dating and dancing business, what made you get into that business first? What was it that was intriguing about it for you?
So the thing that was intriguing about it for me is that I'm of Caribbean descent. And one of the things that I identified, there were at one point in my life, I did go to nightclubs and nightlife, and that was one of the things that I entertained at some point. And what I noticed is that from a rejection standpoint, it was very easy for a young lady to reject the guy on the dance floor. It's like, hey, young lady, I would like to, have a dance. I would like to connect with you on a dance floor. It was very difficult for people to connect on the dance floor. So because I noticed that it was very difficult for people to connect on the dance floor, I was like, I wonder if there would be a way for people to connect prior to going out on the dance floor, and if there would be a way for people to connect, well before that time frame. So I thought about that model, and I thought about the dating site, and I thought about, the dating site or the dating model is something that's going to be around for a very long time. I wanted a model that was going to be evergreen and a model that people had already embraced. People had already embraced the concept of online dating. People had already embraced the concept of matching with other individuals online. And for that reason, I thought that was going to be a good vehicle and a viable vehicle for me to go into entrepreneurship.
Right. And you're right. Those two entities brought together are definitely unique in its own way. But the way that you pronounced it and brought the information to it to make it more of a dancing thing so that people could connect in a certain way, I thought that was fabulous. But you obviously had ran into some issues. And so after everything that you had put into it, what was it that had about the dancing video content that made it a copyright violation?
Yeah, I didn't have the rights to that content. So because that content was not mine and I didn't have the licenses for that content, I was in violation of copyright laws. So then when I was told that, my next question was, okay, how do I become compliant? I was like, I want to be compliant.
Right.
And in order to be compliant at that time, I was told that I had to pay close to $600,000 in order to be compliant. Now, truthfully, I just wasn't in a position to be able to do that, financially.
Right.
So because I was not in that position, I decided to let the whole thing go to avoid legal ramifications. And at that point, that's when I decided to pivot and to go and see how I can take what I had learned and continue to be in business.
Right. And that's a heck of a lesson to have to learn everything that you put into it. And as you were saying, membership was good, but it needed to increase more. But when they were talking about you not owning the dancing video content, so the content on that, these are great lessons. And I want to dive a little more into it because I think the listeners need to understand a lot of times that when we're doing business that we may have the perfect product, to provide and services to our clientele, but we don't always know that there's something missing. So when they talked about the dancing video content that was not considered legally yours, how did you get that content? That's the part I'm trying to understand then.
Yeah, certainly. So the premise was, I like to dance, you like to dance, you are currently single, and you would like to connect with someone based on the fact that both of you guys like to dance. So let's just take reggae for example. Reggae is a genre of music that sometimes we can go to a nightclub, we can go to events, and when we go to events, we're going to find people that we are attracted to. We're going to find people that we desire to connect with. So we have two options. We can go ahead and connect with those people via that actual event, or we can go to a platform, an online platform similar to a dating site, and that dating site allows us to connect with other people that like reggae music. So then if that individual likes reggae music, there's a couple of different ways that an individual could initiate that type of a contact. One way is that person could record themselves dancing to reggae music, right? If you think about any popular reggae music or hip-hop music, that person gets the opportunity to record themselves, upload that recording of them dancing, and that person could go ahead and initiate a conversation by saying, hey, I am an amazing dancer, and I am looking to connect with other people who are amazing reggae dancers. Or that person could record themselves dancing, and that person could be someone that just cannot dance too well. You know what? Hey, I'm not a great dancer, but I like to dance, and I am looking for a partner. I'm looking to build a relationship, but I want to build a relationship with people that like to dance because I love to dance, and I can see that if I connect with other people who like to dance, it could be a great relationship. So from the minute that someone can go ahead and create a profile, if you think about just like a regular Facebook profile or regular profile on social media, the individual for my dating site, when they created their profile included their favorite music, and their profile can include them, dancing. So that was one of the things that made it unique. It was called Admire Dance. It's, hey, I like to dance, and here is proof that I like to dance. Hey, I don't know how to dance. Here's proof I don't know how to dance, but I'm being vulnerable, and I'm okay and I'm perfectly fine with connecting with people who either know how to dance or don't know how to dance, and they can go ahead and share that information and share that resource with each other. So that's what made it a violation, because I can take any reggae artist or reggae music per se, and I can just be jamming to it, dancing to it, record myself, and I can upload it to this platform. So hence the issue.
Wow. That is a heck of a lesson learned, but the concept was so perfect. I mean, I'm sitting here like, wow, that you still need to have that website. You know that, right?
I know, right?
I mean, it's just the thought of it is just amazing. It's not something that you would think on a day-to-day basis to put together, but the option of knowing that you can actually meet somebody that you don't know, but the two of you, the first connection that you have is that you enjoy dancing. And so the concept was wonderful, but I think the lesson here is so valuable that people truly need to understand that certain things in business that you wouldn't have not even thought about up front. I mean, I know that even now, if you're just doing something basic on Facebook and you're utilizing somebody's music that is not your music, if you do not say on that Facebook message that you're putting out that, you don't own the rights of this music, they immediately will cut it off. So, it's kind of like the similar thing there, not realizing that, at that time that you would even have to do something like that with the dancing video content, that even though they're uploading it into your program, into your website per se, so that they can have this opportunity as a profile, that to think that it's not yours, I just find that really, kind of crazy. But, so these are very good lessons learned that people need to obviously, if they decide they want to do something, a building of website and utilizing other people's materials, that it's very important that you get that other additional information so you can avoid certain copyright laws. But I'm sure after everything that you've gone through, let's talk about the journey that you had to go through to understand what does it mean to do and how do you do lead generation? How do you do pop-up marketing? How do you do membership growth on Facebook ads? So talk about that journey that you went through after everything that you had built in that 1.5-year time frame, and then literally all that greatness had to go away, and you had to handle that in your own right. Obviously you weren't happy about it, but you moved on. So talk about that journey there.
Yeah, certainly. So, I started using organic marketing to try and build up my dating site. When that wasn't successful, I turned to using more paid marketing. Paid marketing gave me the ability to be able to reach more people and thereby allow me to be able to grow the site. First try, second try, third try was not a success, right? So I wish the first time I tried to do paid marketing and or marketing period, it was a success. It doesn't work that way, right? There's no such thing as, oh my gosh, the very first time I tried to do this thing, I had it completely figured out and everything worked out. And this is an amazing world. No, that is not the thing. That was not my reality. I bumped my head a lot. I had a lot of sleepless nights, and it just was not fun. To be very honest with you, it was a very not so fun moment. But I stayed the course, and after staying the course and keeping at it, I was able to learn, and I was able to create a framework around how to do lead generation. I have a content framework that I use from a lead generation standpoint that allows individuals who's the right fit for me, my business, and or the people that I work with to make what we call micro commitments. I believe in micro commitments. If you think about the dating concept, right? The dating concept is you date, you court, and once you date and once you court, if that person is the right fit, that person will make a small commitment with you if you're the one that's initiating the courting process, and eventually they'll make a bigger commitment with you. So I follow a very similar concept from a lead generation standpoint. I say to myself, how can I help the individuals who may be the right fit for my business? What can I do to allow those individuals to make a small micro commitment with me? Because I know that a portion of the people that make a small but a micro commitment with me will go ahead and make a bigger commitment with me. And I learned that while I was trying to learn how to do lead generation for my dating site. So the same methodology that I started to use, a couple of years ago, a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I still use today because it still, certainly does work. After refinement, right? After certain different iterations and after certain versions of it, it finally works, and that's what I use today.
Right, and you're right. I mean, when it comes to business, we all hope that when we're marketing that everybody's gonna just come immediately, because we're a great business, we have everything that you need, and the marketing organically, it doesn't always work the way that we want. But then at the same token, you have the other side now where there are so many people who are doing the so-called lead generation process, and it's a quick fix, and you're paying for that quick fix, but it still does not necessarily, for some people, bring in the business on a regular basis. It may be for a second, but what you're doing differently is that you're the talk about micro, that piece is important. So, like you said, this hey, if you just do a little bit at a time with me, then you'll continue to grow and you're going to continue to do business. So just give us a snippet of what is it that you're teaching people so differently that helps them decide that they can learn about, they want to do business with you, but they can do it at their own pace per se, so that they can continue to grow business with you and you become successful and they become successful. So talk a little bit about that process that you may be training or giving information to those individuals for them to jump on board and learning how that you can, like I said, increase by doing it this way versus doing it the opposite direction.
Yes, certainly. So the thing that I do, and the thing that when I work with people that I help them to do as well, is to lead with value. One of the things that happened to me when I was trying to learn how to do lead generation in marketing is I was asking people to go directly to my dating site to sign up. And although that worked, that wasn't the most effective method. The reason why that wasn't the most effective method is because the platforms such as Facebook, one of the first times I tried to do marketing on Facebook, they denied my ad because at the time they were not accepting other dating sites from a marketing and from a lead generation standpoint. So one of the things that I ended up doing is I ended up creating 2 free resources. I created a free guide, and that free guide was, hey, if you want to connect with a male on the dance floor, here's a free guide that's going to show you how to connect with a male on the dance floor. The second free guide I created is I say, if you want to connect with a female on the dance floor, here's a free guide that's going to allow you to connect with a female on the dance floor. And when I went and created those 2 free guides, I went back to Facebook. Facebook accepted the guide, and Facebook allowed me to promote and market those guides. And those guides reduced my ability and my cost to acquire a new lead by, I want to say, by about $18. Without the guide, I was paying about $20 to attract a new lead.
Mm-hmm.
With the guide, I was paying about $2 to attract a new lead. So I say that to say, when you lead with value,
mm-hmm.
that is one of the ways that people will say yes to you. So a value could be, hey, I just created a free video, and that video is going to show you the 4 things you need to do if you want to be able to convert more leads on your website. Someone that's looking to generate more leads and to get more conversions on their website will provide me with their contact information in exchange for that free guide, in exchange for that free resource.
Mm-hmm.
And after I provide them that type of a value, if I have other offerings and or other things to provide to them,
mm-hmm.
then I can go ahead and offer them the next step in my marketing process. So that's the way that I think about it. I think about, how do I lead with value? How do I teach other people to lead with value? Because when they lead with value, people will come to them and people will be attracted to them because people are attracted to value.
Right, right. And the thing that is really cool about the concept, and like I say, even though you no longer have the other business that you were doing, you still have taken those pieces and you've brought it into this newer concept of your business and teaching people how to understand what lead generation is in marketing and growth through whether it's membership or just using Facebook ads as a separate entity for their business. And the value part is so important. And even though an online dating and dancing business was still valuable, but sometimes people, when they look at it, like you said, people didn't have a problem with signing up, but some people weren't, in the back of their mind, I'm sure they're not looking at it in the same concept that you are as something truly valuable. They more or less kind of use it like a meat market type scenario, because anytime you hear something going with online dating, it's always, it's a meat market out there. There's really nothing valuable there because you don't always see the good people. You may see it on the ad, but you're not going to see the true value of those people, the real folks that come on there. So using the concept that you're using in business is very important, is that if you can't bring any value to the table, then why should we continue to do business with you? And why should we continue to grow, And so instead of being that one-hit wonder, you're definitely teaching people how to continue to go beyond the one-hit wonder methodology and say, hey, you can have more if we take these baby steps together and realize the value that I bring to you and the value you bring to me by buying my services and being a part of my business, which is being a part of a member as a part of what I've created. So I really love the concept. I mean, the more I talk to you, it's like, wow, you definitely, I'm sure your workshops were very, very well. So when you stepped into the newer business, the business you created now, the Black Creators Connect, you did 60 successful local marketing workshops. Talk about those workshops. What did you bring to the table that made them so successful?
Yeah, certainly. Just like everything that I tried, at first it wasn't successful. At first it didn't even happen. And the reason why it didn't happen, although I had learned some things to be able to grow my dating site, my first workshop got canceled, and it got canceled by me, and it got canceled out of fear. And that fear was, I don't know enough. I've only been doing this for 7 or 8 months. Mm-hmm. I don't know enough to be able to share my knowledge and or my expertise. So although it was an idea that I had, I quickly realized that I wasn't good enough and or I wasn't ready. So I decided to not do it. A couple of months later, I was watching some content on YouTube, and I saw a video from an individual, and that video inspired me, and that video motivated me to say that I am enough, I know enough, and I have value. Mm-hmm. So I went back and I did my first workshop, and my first workshop only had 3 attendees. And out of the 3 attendees, 2 of them gave me a 5-star and told me how grateful and thankful they were of me sharing the information. And come to find out, I was a lot further ahead from a knowledge standpoint mm-hmm. with those individuals. So that gave me the motivation, that gave me the inspiration to continue. So I just continued. I did 59 more of those. And the reason why I did those workshops were a couple of reasons. Mm-hmm. The first question I said to myself is, I wonder if some of the stuff that I had learned from a lead generation and marketing standpoint for my dating site, I wonder if it's applicable to other businesses. Because at that point, I didn't know that. And that was one thing I said to myself. The second thing I said is, I wonder if I can, one day turn that into a business. And in order to do that, I needed to validate the concept. And so the best way to validate the concept is by actually doing it, by actually helping people, by seeing if it works, and by making sure that it makes a difference in the marketplace. So those workshops were amazing. I learned so much as a result of trying to understand, okay, what is the real problem? So when a company is saying they're trying to get more clients and they want more leads, what's really the real issue? Like, what are some of the issues that they're having? And with engaging and communicating and training those individual businesses and doing those workshops, by those 60 different workshops, it taught me a lot. It helped me to understand the true problems that exist, and it helped me to identify the gaps that exist and fine-tune my skill set. So I'm glad I did it, and I learned so much as a result of doing those workshops.
Wow, that's phenomenal. But the thing that stood out the most is the fact that you had to learn who you were before you stepped out there 100%, even though you wanted to do it and you prepared, then all of a sudden you were like, nope, I need to take a step back. And that's really taking the opportunity to say, like you said, you had to realize that you were enough in order to go out there and do what you needed to do to see if it worked. And then look at you. It obviously worked, and you've done a phenomenal job. You have this amazing new connection on Facebook, this Facebook group called Black Creators Connect. So talk about what it is that you guys do on Black Creators Connect, and what is just beyond the purpose of it, bringing people together. What do you guys actually do as a membership group?
Certainly. So one of the things that we do is I give other individuals the opportunity to share their knowledge or their expertise. I believe that there's power in story. I believe that there's power in the information that I'm sharing here with the audience. I believe that there's power in every single member that comes and share their knowledge, their experience, their pitfalls, and their expertise. I believe it serves as a point of inspiration, and I believe it serves as a point of telling people that, hey, it is possible, you can do it. And there's only so much that I know, right? I have a certain area of expertise that I know, but there's so much that I don't know. So I want to be able to connect the audience with other individuals that's going to be able to share their knowledge and their expertise. So that's thing number one that we do there. The second thing that we do that is I've had the opportunity to host some virtual connection type workshops, some virtual networking events, I should say. And the virtual networking events simply give people the opportunity to network and connect with other entrepreneurs just like them. So that's the idea. I want to go ahead and connect you with people, and I want to go ahead and connect people with resources that's going to allow them to expand from a mindset standpoint and be able to expand from a business standpoint. And also document my journey as well. So I document every single thing that I'm working on right now. I'm doing a 30-day video challenge whereby every single day I go live and I just put on my, push the Facebook Live button, go live and just talk about some of the things that I've learned. I talk about the good, and I talk about the not so good, and I talk about those individual lessons, and I talk about what I've learned in those lessons. I talk about some of the things that I should be doing that I would have done differently, and I talk about some of the things that are working and some of the things that are not working. So I share my knowledge and my expertise, and so the other members, as well. So that way we create a connection, we create what can be a win-win type of a scenario for those who tune in.
Wow. I like that. And the thing that I really like is the fact that, you are just constantly providing great resources and information. And as you said, with those individuals who are part of the group, they're doing the same thing. And that's something that I'm always constantly beating people over the head about. It's great that you can advertise what you do for a business and for a living, and that's wonderful. But what are you actually sharing with people that brings value to them, that gives them the information they need to have for them in order to be a better business? Because a lot of times when we're in business, we can't always afford to pay high-end dollars in order to get the information that you could possibly get within probably 5 or 10 minutes from somebody by just listening and learning. And that's exactly what this platform does. Every one of you who come on to this show, you provide value. You give these listeners excellent golden nuggets about what it means to be in business, the journey of how being in business is. It isn't always the greatest part of life, but once you get it and once you understand it, there's so much there to share, and we're trying to help people not get into those pitfalls if they don't need to. So having you on the show and everything that you've accomplished and what you're going to continue to accomplish is phenomenal. And I, applaud you for not giving up, because it is much easier sometimes to just say, I'm not doing this anymore. and as entrepreneurs, we have those moments. I probably have it about every other day. It seems like, it's like, why am I doing this? What am I doing it for? And we know what our purpose is because the goal in life is not just about you. It's really always about helping other people so that they can be successful in what they want to have and living their dreams. So, your business, Black Creators Connect, is phenomenal. And just the journey of how you got here is to me is more prevalent than anything, because it teaches people that you have to continue to learn lessons. You just don't come out with a business and then you just all of a sudden are so successful that you don't have to learn anything, because if that was the case, we'd all would be doing it, right? So,
right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, wow, I really truly have enjoyed you being on the show. But I also want to find out, with Black Creators Connect, obviously it's a group. Now, it's on Facebook now. Is there a membership cost, and how do people get the opportunity to join?
So people can just, right now, there isn't a membership cost, although we're talking about doing that in the future. But for right now, it's a free group, and you can join via Facebook by just going to Facebook and just typing in the word Black Creators Connect. So if there's show notes, I'll be able to provide the direct link, whereby you can go ahead and click on the link and join via the link as well. So it's Black Creators Connect on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, and that's even better. So for those who are listening, and even for those who go back and listen to the replay, if you need help and you're trying to learn, you got a business you either started or you want to start, but you're struggling, you need to understand what it means to do lead generation and marketing. You need to connect with people who are the same, have the same mind frame as you do. This is a great opportunity because it is free. Because once this gentleman really gets out there and gets it growing, I'm telling you guys, it's going to be harder. You may still have the opportunity to get on, but sometimes people don't realize that, when the door is open, you have to walk through it, and you're giving people that opportunity to do that. So we definitely applaud you for that and appreciate that. So if you're truly interested in connecting with people, please connect with Vladimir Adonis and his group called Black Creators Connect. And I do want to say this, you don't have to be Black, I'm sure, in order to be a part of the group. So sometimes people kind of get that concept in their heads like, oh my God, you have to, always be just one or the other. Connect with people if you really truly want to learn about business. I think that is important. And do you have any other email or anything that you may want to share with people if they want to reach out to you just privately?
So, yes, certainly. So if people wanted to go ahead and reach out to me privately and be able to schedule a time to have a conversation with me, they can simply go to vladadonis.com, VLADADONIS. And when they do that, it's going to give them the ability to schedule a time and to speak with me. And a conversation with me simply allows us to be able to diagnose and evaluate current marketing process, current sales process, and to help you to identify what are some of the things you need to do in order to create a client attraction process that's going to allow you to generate more leads and, in turn, gain more sales.
All right. Wow. Well, again, Vladimir, I have just been totally excited about having you on, and I really appreciate you spending some time with me tonight. But before you go, do you have any last words for the listeners?
I would say just keep going. Just keep going. You are an inspiration to someone else, and someone's watching you. And the things that you do and the way that you respond is going to determine what someone, does. It doesn't matter who you are. Someone's always watching. So keep going and just don't give up.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better myself. So for those who are listening tonight, and like I said, for those who might have missed out on the live show, you can always come back and listen to the replay. But the whole purpose of the show is that what we've learned about is being resilient and following your own dreams. This is the key to tonight's show. And then once you learn this information, share this information with others so that they're not falling into those pitfalls that we've all already gone through. So it's always, something so important that you have, like I said, these wonderful wonderful people that are taking their time out of their day to come on and show you their value and bring their expertise onto the show. So again, Vladimir, I really appreciate you coming on the show this evening and spending some time with me. And for my listeners, my number one question always is for this year is, what do you wish existed for you in 2021? We are halfway through the year. I cannot believe it. We're already here in June. If you have not stepped out and started living your dreams, now is the time to do so. Now is the time to have that conversation. Don't let fear get in your way. If you want to talk to me directly, you can reach out to me at Kimberly, WSBILLC@gmail.com. And let's just chat. Take a few minutes to sit down and figure out where you're at and where you want to go and where do you see yourself within the next year. And if you want more of WSBI or additional podcast show, or you want a free virtual live Q&A session with us, with a favorite entrepreneur, we are doing a campaign. So we're still continuing to raise the $5,000 so we can provide more resources for success. You can go to www.wsbilc.com and you can do a donation there. And again, we would like to thank you all for listening to us tonight. We'll be back next week with more amazing guests. Be sure to follow us on iHeartRadio. Download our mobile app on Google Play or wherever you listen to your podcasts. But until then, enjoy the rest of your evening and good night.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.